Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Hello dear students, welcome to another lecture. In this class, we are going to continue with chapter 10 of class 8th Nagaland Board Grammar book, which is tenses and their uses. Now so far we've learned about the future tense, the simple future as well as the future continuous tense. In this video, I shall cover the future perfect as well as the future perfect tense, talk about its sentence structure as well as its uses. So let us begin with the future perfect tense. Now what is the sentence structure of a future perfect tense? We use the subject followed by shall or will have plus the third form of the verb. Now, as we have discussed it in the previous videos, the moment has or have or had, we use the third form of the verb. For example, look at the table given to you. I shall have or I will have talked to my sister. He will have reached home by now. You will have heard the news. What is a negative structure of the future perfect tense? We use shall or will plus the subject plus have plus the third form of the verb. For example, shall or will I have talked to my sister? Will he have reached home by now? Will you have heard the news? And so on and so forth. The next structure is the negative sentences. How to frame a negative sentence in the future perfect tense. We use the subject plus shall or will not have plus the third form of the verb. For example, I shall not have talked to my sister. He will not have reached home by now. You will not have heard the news, and so on and so forth. And the next one we have is the interrogative negative sentences. How do we frame an interrogative negative sentence? What is the structure? Shall or will plus subject plus not have and the third form of the verb. For example, shall I not have talked to my sister? Will he not have reached home by now? Will you not have heard the news? And so on and so forth. So this is how we frame a future perfect tense. Now let us look at the uses of the future perfect tense. The first use of the future perfect tense is to describe an action which will be completed at some point of time in the future. The action will be completed in the future, but at some point of time it will be completed in the future. For example, by the end of this week, we shall have shifted to our new house. So this is an action that will be completed at some point in the future. So by the end of this week, we shall have shifted to our new house. I shall have returned from school by that time. So by that time, I shall have returned from school. He will have retired by the year 2008. I shall have completed my homework before he comes. Before you go to see her, she will have left the place. So, some action is going to take place at some point of time in the future and you are describing that. Now, let us look at the question based on it. I expect that she will have changed her mind by now. He will have passed MA examination by now or by then. By the time I arrive, you will have finished reading your book. By April next, I will have worked in this publication for 20 years. When you are of my age, you will have learned much about life, and this ways you are going to complete the rest of the sentences. And the last type of the future tense that we have is the future perfect continuous tense. Now, what is the structure of the future perfect continuous tense? When we talk about the statements, the structure is subject plus shall, will, have been plus the present participle, that is the ing form of the verb. Now, since continuous, so ing form of the verb. For example, she will have been learning music for 2 hours. I shall have been flying kites for so long. They will have been catching fish since morning. Now, how do we frame an interrogative sentence? Shall or will plus a subject plus have been and the ing form of the verb. For example, will she have been learning music for 2 hours? Shall I have been flying kites for long? Will they have been catching fish since morning? And then we have the negative sentences. How do we frame a negative sentence? Subject plus shall or will, not have been plus the ing form of the verb. For example, she will not have been learning music for 2 hours. I shall not have been flying kites for long. They will not have been catching fish since morning. Okay? Then we have the interrogative negative sentences. How do we frame the interrogative negative sentences? Shall or will plus the subject plus not have been and the ing form of the verb. For example, will she not have been learning music for 2 hours? Shall I not have been flying kites for long? Will they not have been catching fish since morning? Okay, so dear students, as you can see, as soon as we've discussed the structure, we head on to the exercise. Now, the reason why the uses of the future perfect continuous tense are not given to you are because we do not use the future perfect continuous tense in everyday life. You know, this form of the tense can only be assessed in the question paper under the English grammar. But when it comes to general speaking, general writing, we never make use of the future perfect continuous tense, and thus the uses are not given to you. So let us simply do the questions, and it is written in the question that you have to fill in the blanks, the future perfect continuous. So since you are told you have to use the future perfect continuous, we know the structure, we know what verb form to use, so we will simply apply that. For example, Shivani will have been running a music school for 10 years by the end of the next year. The laborers will have been sitting idle for a week. He will have been learning since morning. The rats will have been knowing sound the rats make. They will have been working we shall have been eating. We have simply applied the structure of the sentence that we have learned. And with this, my dear students, we come to the end of this chapter. So we have learnt about all the different verb forms. We know the present tense, simple present, present continuous, present perfect continuous. Then we know the past tense, the simple past, past continuous, past perfect continuous. And we also know the future tense, that is the simple future, future continuous, future perfect, and the future perfect continuous. So with this, we come to the end of the chapter. I hope the different verb forms, their structures are now clear to you. So I shall see you all now in my next lecture. Thank you.